Welcome, everyone, whether you're here live, so good to see you, or listening to the recording. I'm Sarah Poet, and thank you for coming to this resource activation. It has been alive this week, and the figure of speech that I have is that this energy is like packing a punch. Not that anyone's gonna like feel the punch, but it's like packing a lot of energy. We are packing a lot of energy here today in a good way because I'm really serious about feminine sovereignty on all levels of existence. And, it is really coming through here in these, I'm going to say codes and channelings. Um, so I want to get started by doing a little bit of an activity with you, actually. And you can do this on paper or you can do this just by closing your eyes and tuning in. But what we're going to do is go through what I call the 8 feminine resources. Okay, so these are our inherent internal God-given resources that we have every single day, whether or not, like no matter what happened to us, no matter who took something from us, no matter how much money we have, no matter like anything else on the external, these are what we have every single day as women, and particularly, the feminine, women and womb bearers, right? So these 8 resources, what we're going to do is go through them, and I'm going to say them, and you just like sense into, intuitively feel into, even a scale 1 through 10, how full do you feel in that category? How resourced do you feel in that category? How strong does it feel? How full of life does it feel? Okay. And just feel into that. And I'm going to hold up this little visual. Like in resource, we even use this little pie. And every week we like color in the pie, right? So we have this visual of how full that is. So, all right. So the first one is time. 1 to 10. How full do you feel? How resourced do you feel about the topic of time? I won't spend a lot of time on each of these because it is pretty intuitive. Okay, you get your answer and we'll move on. Second category, in no particular order, by the way, your attention and mental focus. 1 through 10. Next is your overall life force energy. How full do you feel? 1 through 10. Next is your overall body, your physicality. How resourced? 1 through 10. Next, I put womb, sexual energy, creative energy in 1. So how full of life, how resourced do you feel in that area? 1 through 10. Next is your emotional energy. Very feminine. Women have been shamed for this one since, for a long time, but this is a very, very valuable resource. It's a very valuable guidance system. So how resourced do you feel in that space? How full do you feel? How much do you feel? Whether or not you give it away, right? Like how full of this? Oh yeah, I'm in touch with that, right? 0 or 1 to 10. Next is your love, your heart. You can tune in if if it's really protected, if it felt like it's been hurt, if you feel like not giving that, it could be like way down low, like a one or a two, right? If you are just you get those amplitudes of love, it might be 8, 9, 10. And this is just this moment, right? It might change by tonight or tomorrow or next week, or depending on where you are in your cycle, or depending on what your relationships are doing. And then the last one is your wisdom, your intuition, and your gnosis. So, this feminine way of knowing, which is different than the mental, right? The attention and the mental. The wisdom is that feminine wisdom. How in touch with that do you feel? 1 to 10. So, taking a deep breath in and out and looking at those numbers and those categories, I want to invite you, if you are able, to just pop in the chat. What are the areas that you notice are currently least resourced and most resourced within you? So, let's see for those that are here, least and most. And then if you're watching the recording, you can ask yourself that question too. And this is only for your own awareness, your own knowing right now. And, as we go into the energetic transmission today, we will intend to bless every single one of these resources and, yeah, make them more sovereign and devote them back to source. And this is everything we do in the resource container. Okay, so I see one answer. Most resourced, time, attention, body, least resource, love, heart, emotional energy. Thank you for sharing. Okay. I see some people typing. Yeah, and this, like I said, this will fluctuate. It will change. And that's really good information to have, right? Because we can call on those areas where we feel the most resourced and like caretake those spaces that feel the least resource. We can also ask ourselves why. And the why often has to do with exchanges and what we give to others, which I'll talk more about in a moment or in a moment. Okay, the most emotional energy and wisdom, and the least womb creativity and life force. Okay. Most wisdom, least love. Okay. All right. Beautiful. So if you still want to put anything in the chat, go ahead and do that. And I do want to speak for just a moment about those external resources, right? So I love the topic of women's resources. I love it. I feel like I'm supposed to talk about it for the rest of my life. So if you're here for it, I'm so glad. Um, because this really, I won't go into a lot of history because I've done that elsewhere, but this has been a very, very personal journey for me. And throughout my life, there was, it started, I grew up in like a family that had access to resources, but I didn't really have access to those resources. And it was also manipulated and abused. So financial abuse mixed in with other kinds of abuse. I may talk about that a little bit more later. So the financial goals and freedom and the chase for the external was ingrained in me like from a very early beginning. That was like what I was to be using my energy for. So it was like, to say that again differently, it was like the message was, you have this energy, you are who you are, but you have to chase the financial, you have to chase the success, you have to like attain those external goals, right? And there wasn't really any conversation about caretaking the internal or the value of the internal or even nurturing the individual, the wisdom and the gnosis of this being, this soul wasn't even like part of the recipe, right? And then it gets even more complicated if we had someone like taking from that internal well, right? And telling you to go chase the external. So I was in that bind for like many, many, many years. And I don't think I'm alone in that as a woman, right? So what we need in the external, like money, like houses that we live in, like a car to drive, like these are very important things, but they're not meant to be at the expense or sacrifice of those internal resources. And that's where the world really has it backwards with women and the feminine and this recipe, right? Like sacrifice the internal for the external, sacrifice the health of the feminine, the health of the heart, even the health of the womb, right? In order to have the external, in order to have the relationship, in order to have the security. And this has been kind of written into the paradigm, for women for the last many thousands of years, that in order to be safe, in order to have the resources that you need, in order to have a roof over your head, food in your children's mouths, there were going to be sacrifices that she had to make. And in a recent podcast that I made on sacred remembering, I talked about that lineage reality of what our mothers and our grandmothers and our great grandmothers were doing as far as like, okay, well, if I don't have equal access to these external resources, then how am I exchanging? What am I sacrificing? What am I trading in order to make sure that we're taken care of? Right. And sometimes that worked out super well with a lot of love and fairness and, harmony and mutual respect and like all of those things. And oftentimes it didn't. And there was like a lot of sacrifice, and there was a lot of sacrifice of the feminine resources. Someone wants to come back in here. All right. So we get into that inside of the 8-week container of resource, but today is not necessarily about those external resources. We're going to focus on the internal. The intention today is really to activate as much sovereignty as we can in these resources, and I'm going to open up a channeling in these new earth frequencies. Some of you have experienced my work like this before. Some of you are new to it. Um, it is. I'm so excited to welcome everyone. We're going to be getting into some energetics that I actually have not been given permission to channel publicly until now. So this is very exciting. So inside of the resource container, we're going to be traveling more with the energetics of the soils of creation. I call it the soils of creation. It's the prima materia. It is the original substances of creation. And we're going to deepen in with this over the 8 weeks. So similar to today, there's like a teaching in every week, and then we get into this esoteric channeling to bring more sovereignty to the field of woman, to your light body, and to activate this inherent resourcefulness and new earth code. Like some of what I'm beginning to talk about, I don't even have all the words for yet. Like I'm feeling the energetics, I've been feeling the energetics of it, and I'm getting the green light to talk about it. And so even if you did resource last year, we're going to go like deeper and into these sacred activations of this prima materia, which again, I've been tracking this for many years, and I feel like this is like present moment planetary activation, which is very exciting because it's bringing this feminine sovereignty to a whole new level. and feminine resourcefulness without sacrifice to a whole new level. And when I'm talking about sacrifice, I'm talking about the unhealthy sacrifice, right? Like we might all have to like sacrifice, like, oh, I wanted to, go out to eat, but like instead I have to go pick up my child somewhere. Like that's a sacrifice, but it's not like a sacrifice on your resources. So I think everyone here understands the difference about what I mean. But today I just want to state my intention, especially if you're new to me, that today is energetically sovereign. There is nothing here to like manipulate your energy to get you to join resource. I am excitedly inviting you to join resource because it's going to be amazing. It's a sacred 8-week journey and container. I might hold it again in a year, but like right now it's happening. And it feels very, very deep and very alive. So that invitation is out there. And that is why I'm having this call, because we start on June 7th. And today is about today. So like my heart is very invested in just like giving you this transmission today. Okay. So I wanted to clear that up in case you don't know me or my integrity yet. Okay. All right. So moving on, I want to share with you some of the themes that were coming up this week. So I'm going to speak about topics and maybe even tell a couple of stories. And again, if I teach through story often, but what you are receiving is actually like, this is all an energetic transmission, right? So even if your mind is like, okay, we just jumped from there to there, there's something energetic that wants to come through. And all week, I was feeling the power that this was packing, like I said, right? And then I was like, am I really supposed to share all of these things with them? And the answer is like, yes. So I need to touch on these things, particularly because this isn't exactly it, but I'm going to use these words to articulate it. So many want to love and light the solution. And in fact, that's very integrally related to what I'm about to talk about. But when we have had an extractive system for so long, we can't just love and light the solution. And we have to get the sovereignty of the material, of the matter, of the bodies, of every single one of these 8 resources. These 8 resources right now live in a body that is made of matter, that is made of bones and cells and plasma and water and materiality, right? And so for a very long time, there has been a great attempt to separate the matter, the materiality, from what was said to be spirit or said to be holy, right? And in doing that, that allowed for a lot of taking from the material world. To say that the only thing that was holy or the only thing that was worthy was spirit, what was like above the neck, allowed for a lot of systemic extraction from matter, from women's bodies, from land body, from innocence, right? So that is why I am saying the next part and piece of this, okay? So what I'm referring to are like wounds of separation. So we live in this like separation matrix, like we feel genders are separated and power is separated. And this is like so much of what I talk about in everything that I talk about. So I'm talking about a big thing, but trying to make it short here. So, we have traumas. We have traumas that happen to us at all ages. We have people that would take advantage of us. We have incidences of things that happen to us that actually fracture our soul's connection to source. And these kinds of abuses are systematic. They are indeed meant to separate the soul that lives in this body and extends and connects to source. It was like meant to cause breakage in the architecture between the soul's house of the body and source. And I'm going to also say the earth, but that's like wholly new information. Like we're barely talking about that yet. I am, right? But there's a sacred and sovereign architecture that extends from source through our light body, through our physical body, and into the earth. And you'll hear me talk about the grids, right? And so the light body matches up, meets up with the sovereignty of the new earth grids that are resurrecting right now. So we are resurrecting the energy circuitry between us and source and the earth. And in resource, that is what we are doing every week. Okay. There's this like very practical, like, how resource do I feel in this body right now? How resource do I feel in the financial, in my exchanges? What feels fair? What feels unfair, et cetera, cleaning that up. And then there's like, let's get resourced back to source in the sovereignty of our energetic body. Okay. So, all right, going a layer deeper here. So, yeah, I'm just going to take a deep breath. When we experience these traumas of separation or these traumas against our feminine form throughout our lives, no matter how long we are, some of us that happened very, very, very young, right? That's where the breakage and that fracture happens between us and our source connection. And this often dissociates us from the earthly realm. It dissociates us from having safety in our bodies, feeling safe on the earth. This, for example, this one session that I did with a woman is coming up where she was desperately wanting to feel more resourced. And when we looked at her earth connection, she was like, I can't connect with the earth. Like she couldn't sit etherically on the earth. She couldn't imagine sitting on the earth. And she had had a trauma that wasn't like a direct sexual trauma when she was a child, but it had to do with like her brother and a seesaw, and it really, really hurt like her pelvis and that area of her body. And she was a young, young child. And from that point forward, she couldn't connect down into the earth. And she had resource, material resource issues. Okay. So I'm like weaving in another layer, right? So oftentimes, I'm reiterating now so that we get this. So there's this material layer that is our bodies, and oftentimes it's taken for granted or abused or hurt, right? Um, the sacrifice is like forced upon us many times as women. And then it's like, well, it takes something from that physical realm. So there are many women who have experienced sexual traumas, experienced like being taken advantage of throughout their lives, financially, etc., who struggle with money. And I find this particular connection very, very fascinating. And again, I want to talk about it and dedicate my life to it because it's like this direct correlation between extraction from the feminine and a woman's ability to resource herself, to hold wealth, to feel safe in the physical. Okay? I'm going to go a layer deeper. So oftentimes what happens, and if we're looking for, sacred solutions or like a mainstream dogma, religious, et cetera, like this is where that separation between the matter and the spirit is further like driven home, both in like traditional religion and New Age. And it's like, well, if I'm hurting, then I'm supposed to, like, something spiritual or invisible is going to make it better, right? Like, it's like the solutions are going to come from spirit. Even like New Age manifestation, it's like you are putting it into the ethers and you're hoping that it comes into the physical. But what if you have these unresolved traumas and your somatics, your body is still pushing that away because it doesn't feel safe to like receive, period. It doesn't feel safe to receive like money or this provision that you know that you want. And so no amount of working in the ethers is going to actually change the somatics so that it can hold more resourcefulness, right? And I know this from a lot of trial and error, like personally, right? And so this is where we again cultivate these 8 feminine resources and call in the proper reintegration of source energetics to make this a unified situation between spirit and matter, breath and body, heaven and earth. Okay, so that it's all resource, so that we're not operating in this old paradigm where something had to be taken in order for something to be gained. Like we're saying we're not participating in that paradigm. We're taking our feminine and making it sovereign and saying, actually, I'm choosing this new paradigm of feminine sovereignty that y'all don't even have a map for yet, but we're remembering the map, and then I'm going to teach you the map the next time you want to take, like the next time you want like a faulty exchange, right? The next time that relationship comes in, it's like, you want to give me everything right away? And you're like, actually, no, I don't, because that drains the fuck out of me. So I don't choose that anymore, right? And so, yeah, so let me get back on track. Okay, so I'm going to go one layer deeper and then we'll conclude and we'll do the energetic portion. So, and this is the part where it's like, whoa, Sarah just took us there. So I was listening to a brother on YouTube this week. I had like discovered, someone shared it. It was perfect timing last weekend, so I was like, and I'm going to leave his name out because that's like not the point right now. But this man had endured incredible um, abuses and experiences inside of the SRA, which is the Satanic Ritual Abuse cult. And if you don't know this about me, I also have family lineage that experienced this. And he was specifically talking about how his family um, was like Christian by day. So like everyone, really nice family, like, people would love them, right? And then there was this dissociative identity, this like split in the consciousness. And then there would be this evil and satanic ritual by night. Okay. And this was actually what happened in my family. So I was listening to him, and because this is new for people to be talking about in the world, but it's so prevalent, it just, I did a lot of trauma healing. I did a lot of like various things over the years, but really breaking down like ritual abuse and the mind control programming that goes with ritual abuse is an entirely different beast. And I've been uh, wrestling with the impacts of that beast on my brain for the last few years, as I was getting more and more and more free of some of the mind control that went like really, really deep. So this light dark, right, is part of the reason that I bring this up. This like yeah, like Christian by day, evil Satanist by night. And the reason that these families do this and even like give their own children to these cults is for financial gain. It's it's because like people in the physical, but then like all of these covenants, these financial covenants, like they're guaranteed wealth and resources. They're guaranteed like riches if they continue, if they give the next generation to the cult. And so I had been aware for a number of years, like, okay, something happened there where I was given to this evil kind of entity, and my parents are really financially set, right? And there's the split. Like, how did there, why was the covenant that was actually on my resources? Because I didn't agree to that. I don't agree to covenants on my resources, right? So, um, so there's this connection, it's like a physical trauma, but then there's also this etheric trauma. And the example that I'm using is pretty extreme and binds on our resources, cords, people call them like contracts, soul contracts, things like that, exist on our resources and have existed on the resources, the womb, the womb chakra has been hijacked and like the resources diverted from the one who the resources belong to. So we are calling back our resources to ourselves throughout all timelines, all lifetimes, all realities, all dimensions, right? We are calling back the return to rightful owner of our own resources and any resources that we might have inadvertently, taken from someone else, we give back, right? Everyone gets to be sovereign in their resources, right? And that's going to break these binds with dirty money, right? And bring back Christic money. I've been like channeling this week about Christic money. And I'm like, and I have chills right now, even. I'm like, yes. So what we receive is actually Christic, right? So money itself isn't, yeah, like just hooked up in this. Like there's been a lot of manipulation and taking of resources and dirty money and dirty acts, right? And we are clearing up. We are like commanding that that is done across all time, space, dimension, lifetime, reality. And the last thing that this man in his YouTube videos was talking about through all of his like interdimensional, travel over the years was, so he had a very, very strong relationship with Jesus, not necessarily the architecture of creation, not Mother, Father, God in the unified field, but Jesus. Okay. And it's working for him, and it's very, very powerful. And it seems like believable. And he was saying that Satan lives in the earth. He was saying, like, over and over again, like, the dark is in the earth, like, dark evil is in the earth. And I was listening to this and I was like, brother, uh, yeah, there's evil that exists in all dimensionality, including the earth. And there's this dimensionality in the earth that has sought to literally steal our resources. I mean, I'll get into this in resource, but when I recognized this, that this is where my siphoned resources had been going, were these like interdimensional layers in the earth, it was like, how do I even talk about this? So this all sounds so crazy, right? But that was like a couple of years ago, and I've been like getting like calling it home and clearing the covenants and things like that. And so, I was like listening to this man who has been through literal hell on earth, through these hell realms, and has found Jesus Christ, and which, like, Jesus Christ is right on, like, aligned in my book, right? Like, and the son of Mother, Father, God, the son of a unified Godhead, the son of a unified source. Okay. So I'm listening to him, and he's saying that Satan is in the earth only. And I was like, the crystal caverns are in the earth. There are like realms of like heaven inside of earth, uh, the crystal core of the earth, like the heartbeat of the earth in the crystalline grids. Like it's there. And again, the message was earth, matter, dangerous place. The salvation comes from the up and out, from the spirit and the light. So this distortion felt very relevant to speak to today, because what we are doing again is re-sanctifying the source earth connection, right? That is holy, that is sacred. And I'm personally very excited because these realms of the primal material of creation, the original matter of creation, and it's deep in these interdimensional earth spaces. It's deep in our own wombs. Like we have this remembrance, we have this power and capacity, and it wants to come back online. It's not going to get into the wrong hands. That's like for probably, I don't know, the better part of a year, it was like no green light. Like just sit with this. Um, and it's an incorruptible, frequency. It's an incorruptible substance. There are those that would want to access it, that would want to harvest it or use it, right? Those forces are becoming weaker and weaker and weaker on earth, and our strength in our source connection is becoming stronger and stronger and stronger at this time on earth. And so we are able to, fortify, deepen in, fortify, deepen in, like we access more of these codes of original creation as we resource, um, making that matter holy, holding these, what I call the 8 feminine resources, but really that's like the whole of who we are, right? And the 8 feminine resources are a way that I have come up with, like to conceptually talk about the whole of our resources as women. And so, yes, so let me just look down at my notes here. Yeah, to reiterate that a little bit, like it's exciting, right? Because there's this invitation into these creation realms. And many of us, myself included, have been like working hard at even our soul's calling, or like what we feel we're meant to be here to create. And it has been maybe like still involved in the old infrastructure and architecture. And so like wasn't taking off. Um, or we just, again, I think like some of it's like a time capsule, right? Like that our soul came in with, and it's like, okay, they have to remember more and more and more, and fortify, and so it doesn't look like we thought it would look, to just like manifest in the new age and all of these things. But like our true creations need to be held in this resourced unified field, and our light body really needs to be like the sovereign home and holder and like hearth of that, right? So that this like we're the incubator, we remember, we are literally bringing these codes forward. And if you're here, if you're listening to this, like I'm talking about creating a new paradigm, right? Like I'm talking about like stepping out of like the blabber, the rules, the false promises, like the bullshit of the old paradigm, and like trusting yourself and your source earth connection and your the divine reasons that you are here, your divine creations, like trusting in creation more than trusting in the false matrix that was, so full of these separation tactics that didn't even value feminine energy. So like, why are we going to play that game? I'm not going to play that. So, okay. So, again, the resource 8-week container is a mixture of like this practicality, and we go through these 8 feminine resources week by week. We talk about the relationships, we talk about exchanges, we talk about what's like messy in the physical in our relationships, what needs to be cleaned up. We support one another in a Telegram group. So we have a live weekly calls. Then we have a Telegram group where you can share whatever's going on for you. Talk it out, like make magic, get support, right? Like when women get together and start sharing, like it's a very magical container. And so, again, I'm very excited because, um, so Structure and Flow is in January. This is another one of my offerings. And in Structure and Flow, we're specifically looking at time and attention and like the hours in a day. And yeah, and like what we're creating from that. Okay. And it's a very practical program. And this year, this whole codex came in about time. So we were actually healing our relationship with time and the cosmic clock. So we had our weekly transmission, or like the weekly teaching that was very, practical. And then we're like doing the workbook that's like practical. And then there were these transmissions where we were actually correcting the feminine and masculine energetic components of the cosmic clock. Like it was badass, right? And so we went through that for 3 months. And so resource is that multi-dimensional, container also where we are in the practical, and then the esoteric that's really coming through to be shared in this upcoming container is the secrets of the prima materia and the activation of the prima materia, which is very exciting. So we're going to go into like a ceremony now, and I have this could go 30-40 minutes, but I am just going to let it take the time that it takes. So you take care of your needs, and do what you need to do. And again, when we go into this space, everyone is sovereign and free, right? I'm not manipulating energy. I'm not clearing anyone's energy. I am attuning to the group field, and everyone is responsible for you. And so if I say something, you can say yes or no, right? Like in your own expression. If you have not worked with me before, this is the field of Mother, Father, God in original creation. That the Christos Sophia, that is the only thing I am interested in. I work for the Christos Sophia. And so that field naturally organizes and harmonizes your light body and your energetics. So whether or not I'm holding group space or I'm holding one-on-one space, what I'm doing is channeling and like being there and being a guide, I guess, in the channel. And the field itself is recalibrating and reorganizing because each and every one of us, we've experienced these fractures, these separations, these traumas of separation throughout lifetimes. And then that stays in the kind of architecture of our light body. And it wants to correct. Like it really wants to. Creation wants to be unified. And so we can really lean into that. Like I invite us all to lean into that more every single day, that, you know, creation wants to create with us and through us. And the unified field wants to be of help, right? And when I say unified field, I'm talking about source. I'm talking about that source field. When I say Mother, Father, God, I'm talking about source. Okay. So we are going to connect into the positive earth grids, into the sacred soil. I call this heartland. That's a transmission of that I was given. You've maybe heard me talk before about the energetics of the regenerative feminine. So we're going to tap into that, tap into these new earth frequencies in this unified field, in this positive earth grid, and bless the feminine resources, maybe do return to rightful owner, and connect in, I think, with the prima materia as an intro today. Now, all of that is what I got before. And then when we go in, I'm going to obey the field. So that may not be what happens at all, because many times I have been very surprised. But I think that's what's going to happen. So, all right. So you can get comfortable. I encourage you to stay upright. And there is, yeah, wanting to close your eyes. Yeah, that's totally fine. And yeah, go off camera is fine. And I encourage you to, like I was saying, stay upright, right? So your spine is part of this channel and conduit between heaven and earth. So laying down, going to sleep isn't totally advised. And, you know, you can also, you are sovereign over your own body and choices. Yeah, thank you again for being here. I'll share this transmission with you afterwards. You can share the recording with a friend if you choose. And after this, we'll conclude the call. So I just wanted to say thank you. And just so much love to each of you. And I'm so excited for us as women and where we're going. So, Mother, Father, God, be with us here. Hold this container. Calibrate this field as we begin to breathe in and out. Noticing this embodiment of breath, this activation of spirit and matter. Noticing our bodies supported by the chair, by the ground, the floor beneath us. Calling yourself to yourself. Anything that I say that you, again, agree with, you can repeat. So I invite you to say, I, in your full name. I'm calling myself to myself throughout all lifetimes, all timelines, all dimensions, all realities. You can say that 3 times, breathing in, arriving. And inviting you with the words, I am here. With the I am, we connect with that source connection, that 12th dimensional space and beyond, that our energy light body has a connection to. We are a part of it. It is the beginning of the God realms, right? So calling that source connection, and our, each individual's energy architecture is going to be in a different shape. So you just intend for that source connection from above. So if your body has these things, energy centers or chakras, like 1 through 7, this is 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, way up. So sense it, claim it. So I am. And then bringing that source connection back down and through that central channel, And as it begins to touch your body and feel your body, I am here. And so with the here, we bring that connection and that intention down through our bodies, through the root centers, down through our legs, through our feet, and we send it down to the crystalline core of Sophia Gaia. We're calling for that connection with that crystalline heart of this gorgeous planet that we live on, and the potentiality of this planet and the new earth gridded architecture of future earth, aurora earth, what I call heartland. And so we activate that connection with that crystalline heart, with these spaces and places in the earth, and with the new earth grids. And so I want to invite you now to feel your feet as if you are standing in absolute pristine soil, the soil of the new earth, the soil of regeneration. And you can imagine yourself even in a place of nature. It could be a place real or imagined where it's just so pristine. And the soil has never been disturbed. It's never been like scraped and over farmed and, used, but it's abundant. And you begin to arrive in the soil with your bare feet, allowing your feet to sink down and into this lush soil, so many like gorgeous spaces between the particles. And your feet start to sink down in as they do when you're standing beside the ocean and the waves are lapping at your feet and they kind of like fall, sink down into the sand. You allow that to happen in this pristine new earth soil. As that happens, allow this recalibration of your energy with these potent new earth energetics. Everyone present, please continue to focus on that. Well, present now or in the future, continue to focus on your own connection to that. And I'm going to just zoom back out and attune to the sanctity and sovereignty of the field. You continue your focus on like the open up the energy spaces of your feet and really let it connect and begin to speak to that soil. And so we call for absolute sovereignty on the space, calling for a pillar of crystalline light from source itself down to the crystalline core of the earth. Just hold this space as a temple space today and throughout all of the recordings, so it's a live transmission at all times. I'm calling on a dome of protection around this space, this temple, sacred space. I'm calling for absolute sovereignty from all onlookers, all tech, all spy tech, all devices, anything that would like seek to spy, to harm, to distort. That is just not allowed inside of this creational field. And so we call on the guardians of the unified field of love, of unity, truth, light, and wisdom. And call on these guardians to create pillars of protection around the space. Again, from source to the center of the earth. And may this space be an ultimate and like maximum healing space, for the maximum capacity of miracles that want to happen here today. For each and every woman, if you want that, you can say yes. When we call for the resurrection and the sanctity and sovereignty of the material layers, the matter, the particle matter. And we welcome the clearing and cleansing of the particle matter such that the like ionic structure is back to the intention of original creation, uh, the original feminine, the primal materia of creation. If you agree, you can say yes. And calling for that on all layers and levels of our being, from the physical, including the womb, and then all of the etheric layers, the multidimensional layers, throughout all dimensions, all lifetimes, all timelines, throughout the morphogenetic quantum field of all that we are, calling for this sovereignty, for this activation of the rightful magnetics and electrics, the return of the particle matter that makes up these woman creatures to be absolutely reconnected with original creation. So if you agree, you can say yes. So we're beginning to get some energy clearing, which is not surprising because when we step into these spaces, that which is not this is just going to naturally transform. And so, still with your feet in the sovereign soil, tuning into your source connection, I'm feeling this spiral begin to form around each woman. You can feel into this for yourself. And many of you have heard me talk about the spiral over the last few years, this crystal spiral that actually extends from this place where we connect into the positive earth grid. So this is why I have you sink your body down into the earth. So we're connecting into actually the positive earth grids. And if you feel it, many times we sit down in it so that it's like our pelvis and our root, our sacral, our womb that's actually connecting with this. So each person is free to decide, for yourselves. And so sense into this spiral of creation that is beginning to move. And it moves from that point where you connect into these positive earth grids. And then it moves, I see it moving like, so from my heart, it can, or just directionally speaking, from my heart, it comes out and to the right around my body, right? And then up and around my body. So it begins with this earth layer and begins to spiral right. Some people see it spiral the other way. I am not going to, I don't have to be in charge about that. So you feel what you feel and allow this spiral of creation to come in. And what it's doing is recalibrating. It's recalibrating feminine and masculine on the right and left. I'm definitely feeling that. There's a directional calibration going on. And it's recalibrating again the magnetics and the electrics. And what I did not say, because I'm tracking a couple of different things at once, is that when we connected into the soil, and you can let me know if you felt this, the electrics were already present. And so that's really beautiful because if you were at the events, the Regenerative Feminine events that I hosted over the last few months, we had a blessing of the particle matter. and event, and then we had a return to of Rightful Electrics event, and then there was a trilogy of that. I can't remember the third part right now. And if you're interested in those replays, those can be available. You can let me know. But that was inviting the rightful electrics back into the soil. And so today is very exciting because as I tuned into the soils of creation, both before this call and now, the electrics are present, which is a gorgeous sign of, not only are we deepening into the sovereignty of these earth layers, these matter layers, particle matter layers, but we're also, receiving the what we could call like the divine masculine back again into these spaces, and it's so much more gentle than like trying to do this, just speaking about archetypes or with a physical man. Like we're actually healing these feminine and masculine distortions that have existed in creation that caused all the problems of separation. We're healing them at this like molecular level. And, you know, some of this might not make sense, by the way. I don't even make sense cognitively of everything I'm even saying. But this comes from channeling these energetics um, for a few years now and tracking, what's different over time. And so this is to say that it's very exciting today. The electrics have returned to the soil. So where was I? Okay, so this spiral that comes up and around your whole body and actually like is a part of this extension of your source connection, etc. Um, it's also recalibrating those magnetics and electrics. Yeah. So there's an invitation to open ever so gently, like just even if you would consider it, um, opening the spaces and layers of self self protection. They might not all open, but like self protection, and also the layers in the mental body of like needing to figure it out, needing to understand, needing to like have the answers in the physical before we can have faith in source. Um, so if you are willing to just like open those spaces to be blessed by source and this transmission, um, you can say yes, and we'll just ask that that happen very, very gently. And so we're feeling some layers and levels just like clearing out of the morphogenetic field, things like overlays, veils, um, blocks, things that inserts, actually things that were inserted into your field, like to make you forget, like those sorts of things. So this is just clearing those out. If you desire that, you can say yes. Literally giving it back to God. calling on your source connection, calling on that light, that solar flame, however you sense that source connection, calling on that and like turning up, to calling on it to turn up, so we can boot some more out of the field here. So that's up in that like ninth, 10th, 11th dimensionality, right? And there's a lot of tactics there to, again, separate from source, block you from remembering source, etc. So we just moved a lot of that out. There will be more to do. Obviously, there's always more of that to do for all of us individually. So you can practice beyond today, just like calling that connection and naming and claiming your sovereignty in all of those places and spaces throughout the morphogenetic field. And so I'm going to call on Mother, Father, God, Source to stabilize every person's connection to Source as much as possible right now, here and now. Okay, and so breathe that, like physically breathe into your body. Put your attention on your physical body, breathing in and out. Okay, in order to, and like feeling source stabilize in your body here and now. Ando kohamba shendia takahanya ki kiendo tukumba handa te sandate shankahanya takahanya. So feet in the soil and feeling yourself stabilize in the soil. There are these special, I don't love the word grounding cord because it's used in so many different ways, but just for the sake of using words that we understand, I'm gonna, I invite you, there's an option to, there are these 4 sacred grounding cords that kind of come out from like the sacral, the hips, the womb, and they go out in the 4 directions. They go out like at a 45-degree angle, as though you're like staking out a tent, and they come out and they're made of like crystalline, pure source energy. And they go down and into the soil and down and into these new earth grids, and you can take them down as far as you intuit, even to the crystalline core. There you go. Okay. So many of you are probably able to sense that actually brings more stability to everything that's going on like up and above, and all of that source energy and that spirit, and it's bringing it, like anchoring it into these layers and levels of physicality, matter. So breathe that stabilization. We're just allowing the field to stabilize here. And if you're not already, I invite you to go ahead and take a seat in this sacred soil, soils of creation. And allow these soils of creation to welcome you home. You might find, like the perfect little nook. Like maybe the soil just like makes a seat for you. You like tuck down in the soil beside a stream bed. So deepen into that felt connection. The soils of creation. And there's an activation that is beginning. Between the matter of you and the matter of these soils. And as you exhale, each and every time you exhale, see if you can deepen in to that connection just a bit more. And recognize that you are in contact with sovereign matter. And that you are also intended to be sovereign matter, creational being, a vast soul who chose to be in this body. So deepen into this connection with earth. I'm kind of even sensing that some of you are like sprawled out on your bellies, you're like having a mud bath, like whatever is wanting to happen for you. Maybe you're spreading this earth on your belly, on your womb. Deepen in. We are getting another beautiful activation. Some very divine energies, these heartland, these new earth energetics that are perfectly unionized, like perfectly harmonized. The magnetics and the electrics, the spirit and the matter. And allowing yourself to interact and engage with this matter in complete safety, complete sovereignty. So there's a connection kind of down and in, and you may even feel yourself going down and in. It may feel like a connection between your womb and the earth, like an umbilicus. You can just sense this deeper connection down and into these soils of creation. Remember that this is like just the introduction, but we're invited to deepen. Trust your instinct. Trust the picture that you see, or trust your felt sense. We're all medicine women. We all see and feel what is perfect for us. So I want to invite a pairing between the soils of creation we're deepening into and the soils of creation in your own womb space. If you do not have a physical womb space anymore, like you had a hysterectomy and it was removed, use the energetic template of where it used to be. Okay, that still exists. And that what they're showing me right now is like, this is a cosmic womb that we're tapping into. And so everyone has the energetic imprint of the cosmic womb. And yes, it's like, the prima materia is this, I mean, yeah, as within, so without, as above, so below. So, and there, I feel like the transmission about the prima materia is not fully coming through here, again, because that information is, it's still protected. It's still feeling protected, and yet, wants to activate, like wants it's inviting us to remember and to partner and to realize it's like we step into a whole other game when we start to interact with this. So begin to feel this activation, that this pairing is a word that I use a lot in the Heartland for energy transmission. Like, we pair the frequency of these soils of creation into the energetic frequency of our own womb. Clearing out some luge. You might even like feel some nausea or something coming up. I'm feeling that in the field. Calling for a holy restoration of the sanctity and sovereignty of this holy womb chakra. This center of creational power, this cosmic womb within the body. And there's an invitation that you can redevote this cosmic womb within the body, your womb, your center of creation. You can redevote that to the cosmic womb, cosmic mother, source frequencies, original creation. If you agree, you can say yes. So there are a few other activations that are beginning. The diamond heart grid, which is something that we work with a lot in resource, is coming online, making itself known, connecting you and the soil and you and the other women. But again, everyone's sovereign. So we're connecting this new field, this new grid, this new creational memory, creational grid through our sovereign choice in these bodies to be connected into the soils of creation. And this is truly such a resourced choice. It's saying, I choose to be resourced through creation, through this sovereignty, through the currents of resourcefulness that exist in creation. I choose my sovereignty. I choose my sanctity. And I choose to move forward in that relationship with Source, trusting it to guide the way, trusting it that it leads to provision in a new way. That I don't have to sacrifice in order to receive. But that there's a healing. So here we have like a source plasma coming in, this balm, this healing balm over all of the spaces and the places where sacrifice has occurred. Throughout all timelines, lifetimes, dimensions, reality. Asking Source to bless the women in space with the Source plasma energy, healing the light body, the grids of the light body, the energetic structures, healing the body itself, healing the structure of the cells, the structure of the body, all of the spaces and places that we connect into Source creation, healing, restoring, resurrecting. Again, naming, calling for the highest healing miracles possible. The restoration of woman, the restoration of womb, the restoration of sovereign resources, and resourcefulness within and without. Feeling that bolster in your field, spread throughout your field. If you agree, again, you can say yes. Again, this is like this light language that's coming in. There's so much support in the 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th spaces because so many of those spiritual tactics were about breaking our connection with Source in those spaces. So, there's more for us to do there. Again, I feel like there's always more for us to do there, but we will carry that over into the 8-week resource container because this space is letting me know that that's really relevant. Right? So we want to, the intention is that we're calling in the sovereignty of the entire light body, the entire morphogenetic field, the entire grid of who we are and what we make up and the spaces and places of our energy body and what that makes up from Source down and through bodies and into earth, like into the earth. The way I see it, take it or leave it, is that connection into the crystalline core is just as important as the connection into Source. Like we are literally the center of the space between heaven and earth. And like our heart specifically is the center between heaven and earth. So not only are we reclaiming the sovereignty of our own physical bodies, but we're reclaiming like that the earth itself and our space energetically in and with the earth is sacred as well. So we're reclaiming a lot. Oh. So Mother, Father, God, may everything that we activated here continue for each and every woman listening now, listening in the future, and blessing each and every sovereign soul in her own walk of sovereignty and feminine masculine unity and reconnection with the unified God field and the unified Godhead. Blessing our connection with this earth and with the earth that is and with the earth that we are calling forward, in this like incredible, we could call it ascension times. And this work that we're doing and this remembrance that we're having will truly activate and, you know, like people talk about 3D, 4D, 5D Earth, like this will help to ascend Earth itself. This is how we do it. And what that means is that Earth becomes this unified field and this beautiful creational space, and we actually have unity consciousness, and we actually have, you know, heaven on earth, and we actually have like divine unions and all of these things that we talk about. Well, like this is how we actually move the dial on that energetic structure that, you know, we are supporting by being us on the earth. Like we are the conduits, we are it. Like we are like the acupuncture needles in the earth. So it's very important that we, you know, continue to do this, and that we also believe in our capacity to do this, like to stand in our own truth, and to, um, yeah, to believe that like things like this are enough to change the world. So you feel better, but we actually also are uplifting the planet as well. If you agree to that sort of life, you can say yes. Beautiful. So infinite blessings to everyone listening at any point in time. And I want to invite you to thank the field with me, thanking all of these energetics, thanking these soils of creation, Mother, Father, God, Source, the Heartland, those we know to name by name, and those that helped, and yet we maybe don't know the name. And so with that, I'm releasing the field that we've set for this space, and I invite everyone to call yourself back to your body, maintaining your source connection, maintaining everything that we just did, but noticing it in your physical body now, in the room that you're sitting in, and letting that group field go. And then when you're ready, you're going to begin to open up your eyes and look around the space, noticing 4 corners, 4 colors in your space. Breathing in and out your body, your belly. Again, bringing all of that with you. Bringing that activation and remembrance with you, bringing it forward. All right, beautiful people. Thank you so, so much for joining me, joining one another, joining with the earth. So much love to each and every one of you, and so many blessings. I hope we connect again.